I'd like to thank Zealheli for sending me this Nano Qx frame. I'm going to give it a swap out. I'm going to take out all the guts out from the Nano Qx and throw it in here. I want to tell you a little bit about the frame itself. You can take these little sleeves out that they have in here, which are 6mm, and you loosen up the sides right over here with a micro screwdriver, and you can change it to 7mm. So if you decide to do that, there are some tutorials on YouTube, I believe. You will have to change the plug on the board if you decide to do that, because you will be using bigger motors. So that being said, the frame, very well constructed. Seems like this is just going to be a straightforward little swap over. So again, I'd like to thank Zealheli for sending this over to me to test this thing out and give my point of view of how this thing is actually performing compared to some of the other frames that are out there. I've tested quite a few of them, and by far I could say that this one here is probably going to be a top contender. So thank you very much, and let me get the electronics out and we'll start doing a transplant review. Okay, I have everything all taken out of the Nano Qx. It took probably roughly about 5 minutes just to disassemble everything. But today I'm going to throw in some 0615-14 micromotor warehouse motors, and we're going to put some little oomph into this. So let's get started here. It's pretty straightforward. I've already took the liberty of putting in the 3 motors already, and Micromotor Warehouse, their motors, they have 2 that are black and 2 that are green, so it lets you know which one's which, and with the wiring as well. So basically all you're going to do is, if you're going to be using the 6mm motors, you're going to leave this this flange in here, and you're just going to set your motor in here and not put it in all the way. And if it's going in too tight, just loosen up this screw, and make sure you have yourself a nice little micro screwdriver. It'll make life a lot easier. Once that's, don't push it down all the way, because you're going to want to push it through the hole and get that shoved in there. It takes a little finesse to get it in there, but you'll get it in there. It's a little tight fit. You almost have to put it in sideways, but it does fit. Once you get past this point, it's easy to put in. There we go. Now once you get it past that point, send it through the arm, slot right there. Then you can push down your motor. And if you choose to, you can use a little bit of Loctite on these screws, but I usually do general maintenance and check all my screws every so often. These screws are just a bit too small for that little bit of Loctite. Now once you go through there, go through the other back side, and I bet you could put this thing all together without even taking the top plate off. And you're going to come through here, give her a pull, and then bring her out right through here. And that's it. So now our motors are in. Alright, now the board, I've already put 2-sided tape on it, and obviously with the cord is in the rear. So like again that I mentioned before, if you decide to use 7mm motors, you will have to change out the cord. So you're going to need a thicker cord, but we're not doing that today. Here's the antenna. Just be a little bit careful by putting this in there. Now what we're going to do is send this board right through and line it up with some corresponding little slots they have in here. Give a little push down. That makes that all stationary. So now just take your plugs and plug them in, and you are done. So that's pretty much about it. There's really nothing to it. It's an easy build, easy transplant. Anybody with minimum skills can do this. No soldering required. Everything's all plug and play. Then you could just address the wires, snug them up, make sure everything's the way you want it, get the wires out of the way, and make sure your board is set down real good. And that's it. Just make sure your antenna isn't touching the carbon fiber. Raise that up a little bit. Just get it out of the way. Just don't want no interference. Look at that. We'll adjust that. But just get it out of the way. And then they give you a rubber band for down at the bottom to hold the battery. And you can just tuck these in like so. Once you get everything situated. So I'm going to address this a little better. But for the video, that's pretty much about it. And again, I'd like to thank Zealheli for sending me this. And if you were wondering if you can change the top plate, so if you choose to do an FPV for the FPV model, you can do that. Everything comes in this nice little case. And give them a shout. They'll be glad to take care of you. I'm going to finish up this build and put my props on and give it a test. And thank you for viewing. Again, Zealheli, thank you so much for sending me this frame. And Micromotor Warehouse, look them both up. Awesome companies.